Hello Dumaguete, hello Negros Oriental, and hello Sillimanians around the world. On behalf of Ronelyn Faith Vailoces, this is Joshua Soldivillo, all the way from the Isabel McGill Luce Auditorium, and you are watching #Silliman. Good evening, everyone. This is a program initiated to discuss matters concerning the campus by the sea. This is #Silliman. Mayong gabi sa tanan, and thank you for joining us for another episode. And we thank you for making #Silliman as your Monday night habit. And of course, I know you enjoyed the celebration of the university in line with the University Christian Life Emphasis Month. Last week, we had our convocation at the Silliman University Church. God bless everyone and continue participating our UCLEM activities. This series of #Silliman is going to feature the 5 C's of the university: classroom, culture, the court and the field, the community, and at this episode, we're going to feature one of the pillars of university's cultural thrust. I am joined with, of course, a student at the College of Performing and Visual Arts. We have Eugin Magbanua. Eugin, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you.
We're also joined by the Director of the Culture and Arts Council. We have Professor Diomar Abrio.
Good evening, everyone. Hello out there looking at our episode tonight. Good evening.
Welcome, sir. And of course, we have the Dean of the College of Performing and Visual Arts. We have Dr. Elizabeth Susan Vista-Suarez. Ma'am, good evening and welcome again to the program.
Thank you, and hello.
And of course, the manager of the Isabel McGill Luce Auditorium, we have Miss Christel Ravelio Co. Ma'am Christel, good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Happy to be here.
All right. So we are so blessed because we are joined by these 4 and I have a lot of questions which I know you are also interested to learn about. I'd like to ask first Dr. Suarez about common misconceptions about the arts. Most often than not, we say that arts is only for the elite. You know, arts is something that not that relatable to all. So, what are the common misconceptions that you can share to us, ma'am?
That is a common misconception, that not everybody can be an artist and a musician. Let me qualify. As a friend had just said, if you draw a line, that is art. It is not like realistic art for some. I paint, all right, and I don't paint the way others paint. And I said, I am ashamed to show my paintings because they are not like other paintings. My flower doesn't look like the flower I painted. And this friend told me, that's why you are an artist. Because you are unique unto yourself. And that is what art is all about. In music, you are able, everybody is a musician, but not everybody can perform music. But those who appreciate it, they can sing with it, and they don't have to have a cultured voice. All of those are musicians.
Right. I think, Ma'am Elizabeth, that's very comforting to all of us because there's still a chance for us to become an artist and, of course, express our artistic ideas, right? I'd like to ask Eugin, that's joining us as a student, as a graduate student in COPVA. Do you think, may I know first, sir, what is your specialization, or do you play instruments?
I graduated my bachelor in music, major in composition and arranging, and right now I'm taking masters in choral conducting. So I'm more into arranging choral music. So that's, I think, it's my specialty.
The question is a little bit personal. Why did you pursue a master in music right after graduating? Because they say that art is something that you can innovate or you can develop on your own. What are the benefits or advantages of enrolling yourself, for example, in Silliman for a master's program?
First thing is the quality of music in Silliman is way different. in comparison to other universities. And that's what convinced me to enroll in a master's degree right after I graduated. So especially the choral music here in Silliman is way different in comparison to other universities. And that's one of the reasons why we had this project, the ESVS, or the Elizabeth Susan Vista-Suarez Choral Festival.
Okay, maybe we can talk more about in a while. I'd like to ask Professor Diomar here, because Eugin mentioned about that the quality of music education that we offer here is different. Can you talk more about this, sir? How do we make sure that there's certain brand or to say uniqueness in our music program or music courses?
Yeah, that's Eugene is really, it's true. It's correct about telling the uniqueness of choral music in Silliman University. In fact, coming from listening from people outside, we've been hearing some commendation that, like Maestro Ryan Cayabyab personally said to me that there is certain uniqueness of blending or harmony in terms of choral music in Silliman University, and that is coming from a national artist in music. And personally, I also observe and notice that being with the choir, with Dr. Suarez for a quite long time already, that yes, Silliman has a very unique kind of choral music. We've been performing abroad, and most of the people, they say something that they've been hearing. They were moved with the sound or the music performed that they hear from, especially the campus choristers when we had our US tour.
And of course, I think all our talents are being enriched and being developed through the years because we have this very institution, the Luce Auditorium, right? And I'd like to ask now Miss Christel about your experience. Ma'am, if you don't mind, how many years have you been managing the auditorium?
Managing the auditorium, I've been here since 2018, but I've worked here since I was a student. I was the house manager when I was in college, and I also was a stage manager at one time, and then manager now.
So basically, your life has been attached and related to this auditorium. In your opinion, Ma'am Christel, how much do you think, or how has the Luce Auditorium shaped Silliman University?
In shaping the university, we are also bound to being educational institution, and we are part of the educational institution. So the Luce Auditorium tries to inculcate also in the students' culture. It may be through the dance, the performers, the performances here, through Sir Diomar's projects and shows, and of course our very own COPVA. We try on all ends, from patrons, students, and even the personnel here working at the Luce Auditorium.
And of course, the bigger community.
Yes.
I'm interested to know about Dr. Elizabeth, because when you get to perform, I think one of the things that we gauge our success of the performance is the feedback from the audience. But other than the feedback that you get and the compliments that Professor Abrio shared earlier, when can you say that a performance is successful? Or like there's this sense of fulfillment when you perform?
For the performance.
Yeah.
Performers. I would think that the success in it is in its doing it.
Okay.
In the creation and in the process until its final performance. that is where the success can be found. It doesn't necessarily have to be the number of people who applauded you or the number of people who write about how good you were, but it is in the fulfillment and the learning process of every single individual who took part in that performance.
So in short, it's very difficult to put a collective definition of
Correct.
what is success, what is successful performance, what is a not so successful performance, right?
Well, in our culture, the more applause you get and the number of media who can write about
Coverage.
you is a gauge of success. But as a teacher and someone who brings people to the arena of performance, for me, the success begins at the very beginning of inculcating education into why they perform, how do they think they will appear during the performance, having to deal with the jitters and coming through afterwards. If they made mistakes, then coming up after the mistake and smiling and saying, that's how good I did. And that is success for me.
Wow, very wonderful. Indeed, it's like from the start until the end, no? And of course, looking forward to the next performance. Professor Abrio, I'm sure that you've also mentored a lot of students in the college. For example, if there will be performances that they feel that I think it wasn't their best, and then they feel a bit of, perhaps there were instances that they feel bad about themselves. Were there instances like this? And then what kind of pieces of advice you've given to them? Or do you have a counseling program? Or do you have like a debriefing session? Something, I'm just interested to learn about this.
Well, in terms of the performances, most of these are artists, and they are also, and at the same time, they are students. And I'm sure they are aware that it's part of the process. So whether it's a successful or they're not comfortable with whether they give the right performance, or it's part of the learning process. So most of them learn, and they were able to adapt this kind of process. While since every artist, of course, we undergo the same thing. There's no perfect performance. It always undergo a process. Yeah.
So we are just going to pause for a short break, but when we come back, I think most of our audience are interested to learn the behind the scenes in the Luce Auditorium, and we would like to know what are the preparations whenever there's a show in the Luce Auditorium. All of that and more when #Silliman returns. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Still, we are joined by our COPVA faculty members and, of course, our student and the manager of the Luce Auditorium where we are shooting this episode tonight. So before we took a short break, we actually asked Miss Christel about the behind the scenes of a show. So can you take us to the preparations that you do, from the coordination, from the ushers to the security? Please share to us, ma'am.
Okay. Initially, somebody comes because we're a venue. They apply or they book for a show, and then we get to have a production meeting to know what's going to happen, what they intend to do here, and what they need and what we can offer them.
The venue is also open for non-Sillimanian
Yes.
performers.
Yes.
So for example, I'm going to book the Luce for my first concert, for example. Okay, so
Yes.
what's the process?
What kind of concert will it be?
Perhaps just like maybe my singing solo concert.
Solo concert, yes. Because the stage is big, and if it's a solo concert, then we have half of the stage. So it depends on the producers, what size of stage they'd like. Some have more light effects for their concerts, and some are formal concerts. So it depends. So if you say solo concert pop, perhaps, then I would expect that the audience would be younger, and then the LACU will prepare how to deal with younger audience.
So even the audience is being considered in the planning.
Yes.
Wow.
So that we will be able to manage.
Right. So production meeting, and then what comes next?
And then the rehearsals, there's schedules for rehearsals. We encourage them to have ordinary rehearsal, technical rehearsal, and then of course the show.
The show.
So that the show will be smooth running.
So when the show already is on, so people are already here, what are the happenings behind the scenes? We're so interested because it seems that people are so busy walking, checking everything. Yeah.
Yes. So we do we open house 30 minutes before the show time. That's enough time for the audience to find their seats, do whatever, go to the restroom, powder,
Yeah.
and then we start the show. While we're doing the open house, we have the ushers, of course, ushering them, bringing them to their seats, helping them with what they need. At the backstage, this is where the stage crew, the performer gets ready also. So once we have open house, no one is supposed to cross the stage. And we wait exactly at the time that they declare, let's say 7 o'clock.
7.
Let's say 7 o'clock, we start the show. The stage manager manages the stage, and the house manager, the audience.
Wow.
Yes.
Eugin, I'm sure that you have also performed here in the Luce or at the Luce Auditorium. How did it feel performing in the Luce Auditorium?
Well, as a student, we call the Luce Auditorium as our home.
Home.
Yes, because this is where we express ourselves through our craft. And being able to perform in the Luce Auditorium is considered a privilege, because Luce Auditorium is one of the best theaters here in our country. And not everyone has the opportunity to perform at the Luce Auditorium. So being able to perform is a very big opportunity for all the students.
Wow. It must have been so remarkable for you. So, Eugin, ma'am, is one of our students at the COPVA. Can you share to us what are the program offerings at the moment in your college?
We have performance courses in choral conducting, piano, voice. And we also have a music education program that's undergrad. We have a music therapy degree as well. And then we have certificate programs, like we have musical theater, we have sound production, and then we have master's degrees like music ed, performance in choral conducting, instrumental conducting, and our ethnomusicology program is still sleeping, but
soon it shall wake up.
Hopefully. But those are what we offer.
Right. Sir Diomar, for example, I am a student and I just wish to explore because I feel that my calling is really for the music and the arts. Do you do audition in your enrollment? Or like, do you prefer students who have already learned basic instruments? Or you accept like zero knowledge at all?
Yeah, we have audition. Okay, there are certain requirements, especially if you're applying for any program in the College
So
of
for
Performing.
example, if it will be like voice.
Yes, and of course, since you're applying for voice, you have to audition to sing.
Okay.
And if you wish to audition for, apply for piano, then there's a certain requirement that, we will ask the participant or the candidate to play the piano, and then the faculty or the jury will decide whether
So in short, it's going to how long are you doing your enrollment period, or do you also like abide with the university period time, because this will take time to listen to the auditions.
yes,
Like if
there
I will
are
sing-
certain schedule
Okay.
before we personally interview and go to the enrollment process. The candidate who is applying has to undergo audition first, because if not, then usik kayang time for the preparation. So the candidate has to pass the audition first before he or she can proceed into the
course
course or
degree.
enrollment interview.
Interview.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that is something that our viewers should take note. Do you have like a standard piece or?
Yes, there are standard piece, but sometimes we just allow the student whatever instrument he can play, because we also accept on probation. So in other words, if the student has the potential or the talent, then we give them a semester to show or to prove that he is really for that particular course.
I'm just curious, Ma'am Elizabeth, about the retention in your college, because of course we have already established earlier that arts or like performing arts is not something that we can provide a collective meaning for. So in terms of grading, I mean, does it how do you grade like a singing or a painting, for example?
We had a hard time with this at the beginning because the arts are very subjective. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So this is what we did. We created an instrument that divided up the grading into technique and artistry.
Okay.
And so technique, if you're a piano major, would deal with the scales. In voice, it would deal with how they produce their sound.
Yeah.
And the artistry would be, did they perform according to the style that they were supposed to do it? Like a Baroque piece would not sound romantic or classical, or an Impressionist piece would not sound Baroque. So that is graded as well. And there are parameters for grading.
Ayun.
And somehow, we're able to grade them objectively.
No? Because I think that would be very difficult to assess or to put that into numbers, right? But it's good that there's really this objective way of assessing our
More
students.
or less, yeah.
Right. Eugin mentioned earlier that COPVA students perform here. Ma'am Christel, I'm just curious. Of course, most of our students come here and then they forgot about their proper attire. Can you share to us the reason, or like is there is there an history behind this, or this is really has been the standard formal expectations of the auditorium?
Yes, I believe that we are an educational institution and that there is a time and place for everything. And then this is the way you dress is also respect for the performers. That's why we do have a dress code. So you can't just walk in shorts for a formal occasion inside. See? So as an educational institution, we have to also inculcate in our students and our patrons that this is necessary in our lives and we can apply it elsewhere. So that when they leave also, leave the campus and be in another country, then at least they know that if they go to this certain place like a theater, an auditorium, they should dress appropriately.
Yeah, I think that's also like more of, I think that's the word, respect, no, for the performance, if not respect to yourself. Eugin, you are now on your second year or first year. So what is your favorite part of being a student here in Silliman University, particularly being in the arts group?
I think it would be the student-teacher relationship. Because as a student in COPVA, you're not just treated as a student, you're always treated as a family. So there are things that, as what we talked in our class in choral conducting, there are things that is difficult to be written down and can be experienced through classroom setup. So, our teachers are not just making themselves bound into the theory of the subjects that they're teaching, but they're also giving a lot of themselves for them to teach the students the art. So that I think is the best experience that I have here as a student.
All right, I think that's a very, how do you call that one? Comforting. And at the same time, I think our students would really like to be part of a nurturing family, because it is really something that all of us as learners, not only in music, but in all fields, that we would like an environment that will allow us to grow and to learn and of course express ourselves as we are, right? So, in conclusion for this first set of our conversation about arts, COPVA, your programs, perhaps I'll just ask you with what is your what's the thing that you are proudest about these 1C in Silliman, about the culture? Maybe we can start with Sir Diomar.
The C, the culture of Silliman University is really very unique program of the university, which I'm very happy that the university is supporting this program, because not all university in the country supported a nurturing and cultivating the artistic, of the students in terms of education. So I think that's what makes Silliman education unique, as a whole person education.
Wow, wonderful indeed. How about you, Dr. Isabel?
You want one word?
Yes.
It's alive. Culture is alive,
Alive.
in Silliman.
Wow.
Okay, culture in Silliman is diverse. We have a lot to offer and we are supported, just like what Sir Diomar said. Hence, we have other visitors from Luzon, and they have the Writers' Workshop here in Dumaguete, because we have them to thank for that and the support of the university. And we have the Luce Auditorium in our university.
Nice. Eugin.
I think it's about the identity.
Identity.
Culture is our identity that sometimes we forget because of external influences like technology and other cultures. But the shows here at the Luce Auditorium somehow reminded us of who we are through the cultural shows.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you very much, Professor Diomar, Dr. Elizabeth, Ma'am Christel, and Eugin for sharing those things to us. And indeed, culture is something that sets us a reminder of our identity, of who we are, and culture is a proof of life. We're alive. For the next set of episodes, we're going to talk about the programs, the shows, and what are the things that we should look forward in the upcoming months and perhaps next year in the Luce Auditorium. See you next week on #Silliman. Hey there, Sillimanians! Daghang salamat for joining another episode of #Silliman. Support our Facebook page. It's called #Silliman. We also have a YouTube channel. It's still called #Silliman. Don't forget to click the notification bell for you to be updated with our recent posts. We're also streaming Channel 6 Field Products every Monday, 8 p.m. and every Tuesday before the noontime news, Saturday, that's after the noontime news. This has been Joshua Soldivillo. Kita-kits next week only here on #Silliman. Bye!